This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Football Night in America podcast. Maria Taylor alongside Mike, Florio, Devin, McCourty, and Jason Garrett here with you. And we had a very fun week 5, 11 games when we got into Football Night in America, and 7 of them were one-score games. 3 of them came down to a field goal. But let's talk about the overtime game, the Ravens and the Bengals. And we're still waiting to see the Bengals get going. They had opportunities to win this one, Florio, but ultimately the Ravens come out on top.
They always start slow, Devin. It's just a matter of time. They just can't run out of games. That's the only problem. At some point, you're mathematically eliminated. And Joe Burrow had it right. He had to play perfect. And he didn't. He was close. That Ravens offense, they bottled up the middle today to take away Derrick Henry. He told me that after the game. That big play in overtime was a sweep to the outside. He could not get it going in the middle. They were not going to let him beat them that way. But Lamar Jackson was able to throw the ball, move the team, score the points, and ultimately, that's the only stat that matters, Coach. One more point than the other team is all it takes.
Yeah, they beat him every other way, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamar Jackson was nearly perfect himself. They got the running game going. And Cincinnati's looking for ways to lose these games, unfortunately. They were in great position at the end. Their holder let them down. And when you go to 1-4, I don't care how well you played against a good team, you start running out of games. I know we added the 17th game, but 1-4 ain't real good. So they got to figure this thing out. I do think they have a chance to get healthy next week against the Giants, but the Giants played well in Seattle.
And that's the thing. When you don't start off and you're not playing well, each year you try to go back. Well, we did that this year. We did. NFL teams change every year. There's a familiarity of when you have a certain team, you're like, hey, we're fine, we'll be good. That doesn't always happen to every single team you're on. And I think right now, this Bengals team, yes, Joe Burrow knows they'll be good. Jamar Chase knows that. T. Higgins. The rest of these guys, I don't know if it's that same kind of faith because they get in these games and they get to the crucial moments, the moments that win the game against Kansas City, the pass interference at the end. Today, all you got to do, snap, hold, kick, game over.
Right.
You don't execute it because people change, things happen, and this team right now is struggling to find their way.
Hey, it was fun to watch, though. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, they combined for 9 touchdowns. You probably would like to see a little more defense, but we're not talking about that right now. One thing that we did enjoy watching, rookie QBs in Week 5. Let's talk about Jayden Daniels and what he's been able to do, help the Commanders get to 4-1.
You talk about not starting slow. You look at this Washington team. They're learning how to win. It's not just Jayden Daniels making awesome, excellent plays. It's them making the plays to win. Whether it happens on defense, whether it's Brian Robinson running the ball, this team is figuring out, hey, we're finding out who we are. Somebody's stepping up each and every week to deliver, and this is a team that no one expected to be here. No one expected to be leading the NFC East, and they're having fun doing it, and it's been a good watch, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I'm blown away by Jayden Daniels, just the level he's playing at. Really, to start his career, he hasn't been bad yet. And just 5 games into this thing, he looks like he's a 10-year vet. The guy that we're not talking enough about is Dan Quinn. I spent a day with them in OTAs, and the guys told me, coaches and players alike, said he didn't talk about football for the first 2 weeks when they got together in the offseason. It was all about getting connected, finding out who each other is, what made each other tick, go to work in the weight room. It wasn't about X's and O's, any of that stuff. It was about building a culture. Way overused. Everybody talks about culture, but that's what Dan Quinn's all about. Every place he's been, go back to Seattle as a defensive coordinator, what he did in Dallas as a defensive coordinator, that's what he's all about, kind of creating that spirit. Now, they drafted the right quarterback. Yep. The quarterback is making a huge difference there, but there's a lot of other positive things going on down there in Washington, and Dan Quinn has a lot to do with it.
When I talked to Jayden Daniels after the game, one of the things that struck me, because it looks like when he runs, he still has a higher gear, and he believes he still does have a higher gear. So he's only going to get better. What he's done through 5 games is amazing. I don't know how they lost as badly as they did Week 1 to the Buccaneers, but they forgot about that, and they've won 4 in a row. And I'm going to make you a believer in Jayden Daniels as an MVP candidate, because I heard what you said earlier.
I keep being like,
No, but here's why. It's very simple. The quarterback of the number 1 seed in each conference, those are the 2 finalists. That's how it works. Unless somebody does something historic, it's going to be a quarterback from the 1 seed in the AFC or the 1 seed in the NFC. So they're 4-1. They keep winning. You know, you have the Vikings and Lions maybe beat up on each other. If they emerge as the number 1 seed, he's going to be one of the finalists for MVP.
They have a shot. That division's not looking promising right now, even though the Giants got a good win. But overall, no one's dominating that division while watching the game.
We're 5 games in. We got a long, long way to go. We're talking about who's winning the division. I mean,
We got to do this every week.
Yeah, it's going to be written 12 more times.
That's okay.
Okay, so let's not get too excited. I know. And I read your stuff every day.
Every day. We're all the way in.
It's stirring the pot.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Jayden one more time, though. The idea that the game is so slow for him at this age. I mean, think about Aaron Rodgers didn't play till the middle of year 4, right? I mean, Elway was not good early. I mean, you think about the greatest players ever to play, and for him to transition so smoothly, I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And like we said, the 4-1, they only won 4 games last season. Yeah. So the turnaround that we're watching from the Commanders, remember we saw the sign that said hope that a fan was holding? That's exactly what they have right now, and then some. But Deshaun Watson sacked 7 times. I'm going to give you the floor, Florio, just to walk us through what's happening in Cleveland and what you expect to see moving forward.
They're stuck with that contract. This is the worst trade and sign of the salary cap era when you consider everything they gave up and that they handcuffed themselves to this 5-year deal, $46 million a year, fully guaranteed. There's $92 million more beyond this year. And so at some point you have to ask yourself, we have to pay him. When do we stop playing him? Mm-hmm. And this is the problem with fully guaranteed contracts, because I believe there should be more fully guaranteed contracts for players, but the problem is if they're all fully guaranteed, they're never going to be 5 years. You're not going to tie yourself up for 5 years, and that's where the Browns really screwed this up, by tying themselves up for 5 years. And now what do they do? It's not going to end well for Cleveland.
Yeah, and I think we all watch this from the outside looking in, and we're like, let's go. Mm-hmm. Let's get Deshaun Watson out of there. Let's put Jameis Winston in. Myles Garrett, after the game, talked about their support for Deshaun Watson. He's out there. He's doing everything he can. He's fighting, and all of that sounds good. The thing would be, is that how they really feel? Is this just media talk? Are we just saying that? Because this team is not playing well across the board. Today they went out there, Jayden Daniels, that offense, marched around all over a Cleveland defense that a lot of people felt like was the best defense in football. So as much as it falls on Deshaun Watson and what they're doing offensively, if they still believe in him, all right, well, on defense, let's make some plays. Let's do some things, because overall, this whole outfit looks really bad week in and week out. It's inconsistent, and this is a team we thought would have a chance to be a contender.
Everything that Mike said about the contract is true. All that stuff is true. It's a bad contract. They're tied to it, all that kind of stuff. But at some point, as the head coach, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what's best for the team? And that's the decision you have to make. And it starts with who you play and then how you play them. And you can't watch that team and say, this guy is adding to their chances of winning games. And so for me, it doesn't have to be a one-way decision. Okay, if we bench him, we got to get him out of Cleveland. Just sit him down. Let the other guy play. See if you can provide a little spark. See if you can get that defense going a little bit. Maybe they rally around him a little bit, and you win a game. And then maybe you win another game. And then maybe something else happens, and Deshaun's back in there, and you figure it out. But you just can't keep going down this road right now and be handcuffed or have this ball and chain because this contract you signed. You're not doing justice to your football team.
You said it yourself earlier, if it was any other quarterback, it would have already happened. Because, yeah, the team has other issues, but what's the one way to give yourself a spark? You change out the quarterback.
We see that every year on some team. It always happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, a team that doesn't need a spark right now, they got it. They're burning, okay? And right now, Mike Florio, listen, he has more bragging rights in our screening room than anyone ever has. We've got Jet fans in there, okay?
Keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, you're hurting people's feelings.
Until now.
Week in and week out. They're 5-0. I think you said, did you say when we get to October? No, November. That's when you were going to.
Whenever I decide that they're for real is when it will all fall apart. That's what
you don't
history
believe
has
yet?
proven.
Yeah.
Not yet. I remember they were 5-0 in 2016 and it all fell apart. They didn't even make the playoffs that year when they were 5-0. So here's the thing that impresses me, and this is a fairly obscure point, and I'll make it quickly. 3 times now they have had multi-score leads get whittled down to a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. Every time Sam Darnold has led them on a scoring drive. Twice it made it a 2-score game. Today, it took a 3-point game and made it a 6-point game, forcing the Jets to score a touchdown versus kick a field goal to force overtime. The fact that they can, when it feels like it's falling apart and all the momentum has gone to the other team, find a way to settle down, and even if it's just 3 points, it makes all the difference. That's the most encouraging part of this, because you avoid that collapse that we all kind of felt coming in the viewing room, like they're going to find a way. But that scoring drive, fourth quarter, every time it's happened in the fourth quarter, that scoring drive makes a difference, and Darnold is the guy who led it.
Don't think I don't see that purple pen over there.
It was laying
He
here.
actually stole my purple pen.
Oh, see, sorry.
You did. It is mine.
And the purple tie. I see the whole thing. I know what's going on.
What they give me. I don't bring this from home.
What I like about them is they're winning different ways. You know, you'll see some teams in this league win with defense or win with the passing game, and then you know at some point that's going to dry up. The best teams are balanced. The best teams can win different ways. The best teams win gritty, tough games. And the fact that the Jets came back and kind of battled back after they were so ugly for most of this game, and then the Vikings responded. Not their best offensive performance of the year, right? He threw for under 50% today, all of that. But in the big moments, he came up with some big plays. And that's what the best teams do. And it's a cliche. High school kids all the time believe. They have these T-shirts. It's a big part of football.
Yeah, it is.
It's believing. We know when it gets to these nut-cutting situations, we're going to make the plays, and that's where they are right now.
Complementary football. That's what we said all the time in New England. How do we complement each other? How does the offense complement the defense? How does special teams play a role in it? When you watch the Minnesota Vikings today, you saw it. If Minnesota had a bad drive on offense, Van Ginkel gets an interception, pick 6. The Jets are driving, Gilmore gets an interception. You just spoke about it. The offense gets the ball, drive down, take the 3-point lead, make it a 6-point lead. They know, hey, we all need to count on each other. We need to help each other out. We need to make the plays, not just to make it, but the moment. When the offense is playing bad and the defense takes over in a bad situation, you can't just go out there and give up points. Go step up, make a play, help the offense out, and watching them do it, it's how championship teams are built. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl, but teams that play that style usually end up in some kind of championship game.
By the way, nut cutting. Is that technical? Is there a manual?
Coach's talk. That's coach's talk.
Yeah, we were talking about peanuts.
Been involved for a long time.
Yeah, macadamia nuts. A lot of, I don't know if you guys, that's what we're doing here. It's been a long day. This is weather delay week, by the way, for us. Okay, guys, it's time for the speed round so we can get out of here with our jobs. We'll start with the NFC North. Who is your current favorite? All 4 teams currently own a winning record.
You know I'm going to say the Detroit Lions. And that's the big game coming up in 2 weeks. The Vikings have a bye. The Lions have a bye this week. They play the Cowboys, but then they get together in Minnesota. That's a huge game. If the Lions beat the Cowboys, Lions have 1 loss, Vikings are undefeated. That's a heck of a game.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to what I felt coming into the season. I thought Detroit was the team. Still feels like they're playing good football. I'm still going to stay with the Lions. Coming off a bye week, we'll see how they can come off. Sometimes it's a little tough playing a hot team like Minnesota.
I typically would say that just because they're kind of the incumbent, they're the heir apparent, they're the team, and I still think they're on an upward trajectory in their organization. A lot of young players playing together. I really like their team. They're balanced, but hard for me not to go with the upstart Minnesota Vikings. Wow. Let's go.
Okay, there's only one right answer for this one. What about the NFC South?
Oh, it's got to be the Falcons because they keep getting better. That's the thing. And the game on Thursday night, incredible, 509 passing yards for Kirk Cousins. He's got a visit to the Vikings coming up, and that figures to be a huge game with massive implications. But they beat the Saints and the Buccaneers 4 days apart. They're in the driver's seat in the NFC South.
Well, they won Thursday because we did a show together and you wore a Tampa Bay hoodie and totally screwed Tampa. They lost because of you. And I had picked Tampa until I saw Kirk Cousins with Taylor Rooks. And he hit that swag surf. I picked Raheem Morris to be Coach of the Year at the beginning of the season. Kirk Cousins is all in. He has the whole Atlanta bought in. Maria Taylor's about to go buy a Kirk Cousins jersey.
I'm all in.
It's going to be the Falcons.
I love Kirk Cousins. I really do. But I still like Tampa. I still like what Todd Bowles has done there. The DNA of that team is toughness. Their defense has not been great at different times this year, but I think they will be as this season goes on. And I love the moxie of their quarterback. Yeah. I think they're a tough, gritty team, and I think they'll be there in the end.
They need to get Winfield Jr. back on defense.
Yeah,
that would be huge.
Yeah. Okay, this is how you know that James Kaminsky writes all of these things. The AFC least, with the Bills and the Jets both losing today. Feelings are very hurt. Who is your favorite, though?
I think it's the Bills, and I can't understand for the life of me why the Bills aren't in this Davante Adams discussion. We just presume the Jets are going to go after him. Yeah. They picked up an extra second-round pick in the Stephon Diggs trade. They could work out some sort of a deal with the Raiders where the Raiders pay the bulk of the salary. They can work out a trade package and get him instead of the Jets. The Jets are the team that's been linked to him the most. If I'm the Bills, I don't have a number 1 receiver. All of a sudden, I have one with Davante Adams.
This is tough. I mean, for what we thought coming into the season, we thought Buffalo and the Jets would be these two good football teams in the AFC, not just in the AFC
Go ahead and
East.
pick the Patriots and get it over
They
with.
both struggled. Patriots will, right now, the number one pick in the draft in 2025. So we'll put them where they're at right now. But I'm gonna stick. I thought the Jets in the beginning of the year. I'm still gonna stick with the Jets, not because I've seen anything to stick with them, because I haven't seen anything that's changed over to Buffalo. So I'll stay with the Jets.
I'm Buffalo. I love the Bills. I loved them last year when all you guys were running for the hills and they rallied at the end of the season.
You said it like they went and won a Super Bowl.
Huh?
You said it like they won
Well,
and
they won the division for the fifth straight year, right? I mean, nobody gives these guys any credit. Nobody gives McDermott any credit. They don't give Josh Allen any credit. They all think they've done nothing. They've actually accomplished a lot, and I think they're on the verge of doing something. The issue is Milano's out, no Von Miller. There's all these holes, these significant players on their defense, so they're kind of relying on Josh Allen to do everything again. When they get a little bit more balance, they'll be better. I was surprised at the approach in Houston, not getting Cook involved more. Joe Brady's done an excellent job there, making sure everybody gets involved. That wasn't the case against the Texans. They got to get back to that formula.
All right, well, we just made it through September. It's the beginning of October. We still got a lot to learn about all of these teams. Mike, you can actually have this purple pen.
Thanks. I'll keep it. I'll keep it until nut cutting time.
He liked that one. He
loved it. I thought we were going to glaze over. Now we've said it 6 times. All right, make sure you join us next week. We've got the Bengals. We've got the Giants for Week 6 of Sunday Night Football. We'll get you set at 7 Eastern for Football Night in America. Make sure you join us.
That was great.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.